Hey, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit this morning about stress and why I bang on about it so much, and a little bit about my own story with stress. So by the time I was kind of 19, I was pretty much a workaholic. My diet was filled with things that enabled me to live that life. I was really eating a lot of junk food and just anything. It was more like fuel to feed the fire of my stress. I was a workaholic. I would do anything for anybody. I would totally negate my own needs to enable someone else was okay. And I would have said by the time I was 20, I was exhausted, along with the autoimmune disease that hit me here and there. I was just exhausted. But if someone would have told me I was stressed, I would have said, nah, this is normal for me. And the same with anxiety. People would say, you look a bit anxious. I'm like, I'm absolutely fine. This is normal for me. And so often we forget that the stress that we're experiencing, because we're so used to it, we don't really know that high stress is causing the inflammation underneath. So I managed to deal with my stress in all sorts of different ways, through exercise, through working with food and whatever, but nothing really stuck. My patterns didn't completely change until I started to work with my nervous system, with IEMT, and to start to understand my responses and why I did what I did and how I coped. Work was my coping mechanism. Looking after other people was my coping mechanism. So by the time I was 40 and I got kind of 40 odd and got Graves' disease, I had to really take stock. And so I talk about inflammation and stress because they're so incredibly linked. And the inflammation, if you're used to something, the inflammation cannot come out as disease until years later. So if you're feeling stressed and burnt out now in your 20s, then, and you're not learning to deal with it in a different way, that's going to start to really hit you. Particularly, it did me when my perimenopause and menopause hit. So this is why I talk about it so much. And I see a lot of it. I've got the perfect lifestyle. I exercise 5 times a week. This is self-care. I use food all the time. I eat really healthy. My heart rate variability is great. My Aura ring tells me I'm perfectly attuned. But actually, what I had to learn was what my body needed on a daily basis, which sometimes is a good boot camp and I really need to kick up the bum. And other times it just needs to slow right down. And so, yesterday I cancelled my boot camp. I had a really busy day. I've been working a lot lately, which I can manage as long as I know there's some downtime. But I learned to listen to what's going on in my body. And this is what happens in Rebalance and Rebuild. It's not about fixing anything, but it's really about you learning how to slow down to listen. And once we start to understand the responses, the reactions that we naturally take on, our coping mechanisms, which, like I say, for me was work and people pleasing, not the best, then we can understand those and we can start to make a difference. And working with that, with some somatic movement, with some breath, with some Reiki, with all sorts of the tools that I use in my day-to-day practice, then we can start to listen a little bit more to the body. Because until we do, all we're doing is fighting the symptoms. We're fighting the burnout. Why am I so tired? Why am I so stressed? Da, da, da. And this kind of mental thing goes on, but it actually starts to affect the body too. So I'll be sharing a little bit more about my stories and why. And I'm still learning daily. I'm in my 50s and my body's changing, things are changing. But it's really about me understanding that that's okay. And I don't have to be 30 again and do the things that I did then. So yeah, if you want to join me, then drop a message below, or I'll pop this on my stories, or just email me with any questions or whatever. And I'd love to see you there. 2 people have stepped in now and I'd really like to see some more of you there. Okay, take care.